I think, yeah. Let's start in child's pose. And just relax down. So you can have knees wide or knees lift up, however you want. And then coming forward, reaching forward with the arms and bringing the forehead down onto the mat. And just breathe deeply. Trying to breathe into the lower back and into your belly, feeling your belly rise and sink. And then from here, let's slowly come up to a tabletop position. And from here, we're just going to take a slow walk to the front of the mat, arriving in a ragdoll. So bringing the feet hip-width distance-ish apart, just grabbing opposite arms, letting everything hang heavy. Maybe swinging from side to side. And then letting the arms go. And from here, vertebra by vertebra, peeling yourself up. The head hangs heavy and the head will come up last. Taking it slow. And then once you're up, let's bring the shoulders back and down into Tadasana mountain pose. So for the mountain pose, the palms are facing forward and you're standing tall. Your toes are on the mat, everything's on the mat, your whole foot. No one can push you over. That's mountain pose. And then on an inhale, let's circle through the arms up. And exhale, hands to heart center. And again, inhale, circle through the arms up. And exhale, reverse swan dive, all the way back down into a forward fold. You can bring your big toes together or bring your feet a little bit closer. Then from here, inhale, halfway lift, long, beautiful spine. Spine is parallel to the floor. Exhale, back to a forward fold. And then from here, inhale, arms come up, hips come down into your chair pose. Yes. And then in your chair pose, you want to make sure that you can see your toes, that your knees are in one line, biceps are by your ears. Maybe you can bring up the chest a little bit higher, maybe go down into your knees a little bit deeper, a little bit lower. Then we're going to bring the hands to heart center on an exhale. Awesome. Then let's look towards the right. And then let's twist towards the right. So bringing the left elbow to the outside of the right knee. Twisting, maybe looking up towards the ceiling, or maybe just twisting halfway. So you can always bring the elbow in between, or even grab a block and put the left hand on top if it gets too rough. And then from here, we're going to come into our first balance position. It's our revolved half moon. So you want to reach forward with the left hand. And we want to press the left leg back towards an imaginary wall. Bringing the right arm up towards the ceiling. Yes. You can always put a block or a book under your left hand. Looks good, everyone. And then exhale, bringing the right hand down. From here, we're going to come into our standing split. So bring the left leg as far up as you can. And then walk the hands as close to your standing leg as possible. Trying to relax the head. The left foot is engaged, so either pointed or flexed. Your choice. And try to really feel a stretch in the back of your right leg, but also in your left leg. So you really want to push that leg as far up as you can. Nice. And then next balance pose, we're gonna walk our right hand forward to align with our shoulders, dragging the shoulders, half moon. So this time reaching up with the left hand, but with the left arm, and the left foot is pressing against the imaginary wall. Yes. Yep. Looks good, everyone. Half moon. Beautiful. And then from here, we're gonna reach back with the left foot, coming into a crescent lunge. So all toes are facing forward. Inhale, arms come up. We're gonna sink deep into the right knee. Hips are square. Yep. And then from here, you wanna reach back with those arms looking up, so it's a mini back bend as well. Then exhale, hands to heart center. From here, we're gonna bring the left leg closer to the right. Preparing for the next balance pose, warrior three. So squaring the hips, hinging forward at the hips, into warrior three. You can either have airplane arms, hands at the heart center, or arms straight forward. Different options for you. Trying to bring that body parallel to the mat. And then from here, we're gonna bend the right knee and we're gonna come back into a low lunge. So what we were just doing, just with the left knee down on the mat, sinking deep into that left hip flexor. And again, arms up. Maybe looking up to mini back bend here. And exhale, cactus arms. We're gonna bend the elbows, yeah, and then really reach those elbows back. We're gonna open that chest, looking up. Inhale, arms back up. And exhale, both hands frame the front foot. Then from here, inhale, right arm goes up, low lunge twist, looking up. And exhale, right hand comes back down. From here, we're gonna bring that left foot forward as we come into Malasana, Yogi squat. So the toes are a little bit off the mat. The heels are on the mat, and then you wanna come into that Yogi squat. Yes. And then here you can always sit on a block. So that feels better. You wanna have a straight spine, as straight as it can be. Pressing those knees open with your elbows. Awesome. And open that chest. Yes. And then from here, our next pose is side lunge. So we can bring both hands onto the mat and then just reach back with the left foot. Coming into a low lunge. So you can either be on top of your toes, on the right toes, or having the foot on the mat completely. So whatever feels best to you. Your low lunge. Feeling that stretch here. Awesome. And then from here, we're gonna come up into a standing position, pressing yourself up. Gonna come into a goddess pose or horse stance pose. So the toes are facing towards the corners of the mat. Bringing the feet a little bit wider and then sinking down into that goddess pose. Yes. Beautiful. So you should feel a stretch in your inner thighs. And also it's strengthening your thighs as well. So you can bring your hands to heart center, or you can bring your arms wide. Depending on what you want to work on. And then from here, we're going to shift towards the right into a high lunge. Yes, perfect. Yeah, coming up onto the back toes. And then both hands are coming next to your right foot. We're going to walk the right foot towards the edge of the mat, towards the right edge of the mat, coming into our lizard lunge. So coming deep into your hips, Yeah, so you can bring the back knee down. The back knee could be up as well, depending on if you want to have a strengthening effect in there as well, or just a passive stretch. And then you could either stay here or come down onto your forearms into your low lizard. Coming deep into that outer hip and hip flexor. So all the hip stretches here might be uncomfortable, or it might feel really good. Breathing into it. And then from this nice hip opener, we're gonna come into our next hip opener, which is pigeon. So we wanna bring that right foot towards the left side of the mat, and then just sinking forward, coming into pigeon. So you can always grab a block and put your right hip on the block if it's too intense of a stretch, or come into figure 4. And then check your back leg, as the back leg should be right in the middle of the mat. So it shouldn't like glass out towards the right, but it should really be straight behind you. And then try to square the hips. So you wanna really be in the middle. And then either stay up here, or again, sinking down, releasing onto the mat. Breathing in here. And then either stay here or coming into our revolved pigeon. For revolved pigeon, we would bring the right elbow the left elbow where the right knee is. Bring the hands together and then look up towards the ceiling in our little twist. Yes. And slowly come back. From here, we are transitioning back to our lizard pose. So bringing that right foot back to the right edge of the mat. And then on an inhale, once we're there, on an inhale, we're gonna bring the right arm up, revolve lizard, looking up. And exhale, hand comes back down. From here, we're gonna slide the right foot back and come into our downward facing dog. And then just walk the dog, stretch out the feet here. Try to have as straight of a back as possible. So that might mean that you might have to bend your knees and pull that navel towards your thighs. We're gonna be the letter V upside down. Beautiful. And then from here, inhale, right leg goes up, three-legged dog. Beautiful. And then we're gonna drop the right heel towards the left glute. Yes, so really opening that right hip. So you wanna feel a nice stretch in the right hip flexor. And you can either stay here or flipping that dog. So bringing that right heel, right foot onto the mat. Yes. Woo. And then reach up with that arm. Deep inhale, stretching the front body. Then looking back towards the mat and coming back into your three-legged dog. Same as before. Exhale, we're gonna bring the right knee towards the left elbow. And then we're gonna kick that foot through. And then inhale, left arm comes off the mat, stretching up. So you wanna rotate that body towards the ceiling. Yes. Yes. And then look back towards the mat. We're gonna bring the hand back into downward, three-legged dog. Exhale, leg comes down, foot comes down. Then inhale, or actually, let's come down onto the knees first. We're gonna just stretch out our wrists. Maybe do some wrist rolls. Or bring the tops of the hands onto the mat and just do some little wrist stretches as it's pretty heavy onto the wrist. Yes. Before we go on to the next side. Great. Bring the hands forward again, preparing for downward facing dog. And then on an exhale, pushing the hips back and up into the downward facing dog. And then inhale, left leg comes up. I'm going to drop the left heel towards the right glute, opening that left hip flexor this time. And again, either stay here or flip in that dog, up and over, sit down with that heel. Yes, beautiful. And then let's spot the mat, come back into your three-legged dog. And exhale, bring that left knee towards the right elbow, our little mountain climber, then kick that foot through. Bring that right hand off the mat, coming into our fallen triangle or wild thing pose. Stretching that front body. Looking back towards the mat. Again, back into your three-legged dog. And exhale. So it comes down. Great. And then from here, we're actually going to bring that left foot forward next to our left hand into our lizard pose on the other side. So coming down with the knee. Great. Then inhale, bringing that left arm up. And exhale, left hand back down. And then from here, I'm going to come into our pigeon pose. So bringing that left foot towards the right side of the mat to come into our pigeon. On the other side, making sure that your back leg is in the middle of the mat. Sinking down low. And you can either stay here or come into your revolved pigeon. So bringing the right elbow towards your left knee, hands together, looking up, twist comes from your spine. Great. And then release back down. We're going to come and transition into our lizard. So bringing the left foot towards the left edge of the mat again to our lizard lunge. And maybe you want to come down onto your forearms this time for your low lizard. Really stretching out those hips. And then from here, we're going to press up into a standing position, coming into our goddess pose, facing the other direction, hopefully. Yes, good. And then again, those toes are facing towards the corners of the mat, and then just coming down into that little goddess or horse stance squat. You can have the hands at heart center or arms wide, pressing into two imaginary walls. Feeling that stretch and the heat in your body. And then from here, we're going to sink into our side lunge, into the right knee, lengthening out that left leg. So it should be the side lunge on the other side. So either being up onto your toes, trying to find that balance, or having the full foot on the mat. So trying to have a straight spine here. Nice. And then we're gonna bring that left foot closer to us, coming into Malasana, Yogi squat. So toes again a little bit off the mat, heels are on the mat into Malasana. Very grounding pose here. And then I'm going to come into our low lunge on the left side. So bringing that left foot forward. Going to come into a low lunge. Sinking deep into our right hip flexor this time. Right hand is next to your left foot. Inhale, left arm goes up. Twisted low lunge. And exhale, hand comes back down. From here, inhale, both arms come up. Exhale, cactus arms, bending those elbows, pressing those elbows back. Inhale, arms come back up. And then press those arms back, look up, mini back bend. And exhale, bring in the hands, frame the front foot. From here, it's gonna be fun because from here, we're gonna come into our warrior three. So, so shifting the weight into that left foot, bringing the right leg up, and then maybe letting go of the hands, coming into your balance position, warrior warrior three. I was just kidding. Making sure that everyone's paying attention here. Andrea paid attention, plus point for you. Finding that focus point, finding the balance. You can have different options with your arms. Don't forget about that. And then from here, coming back with that right foot into our high lunge, high crescent lunge. So sinking deep into that left, into that left knee. Inhale, arms come up. And again, stretching those arms back. Looking up, mini back bend. And then coming into our next balance pose, half moon. So reaching forward with the left hand. Right foot dorsiflexion. Trying to find that balance. You can always use a block or have the back foot against a wall. That's also a very good way on how to practice it. And then right hand comes down to the mat. Walking the hands closer to the foot, coming into our standing split. Really reaching far up with that right leg, as far as you can. Looks good. And then reaching forward with the right hand, reaching the right leg up into our revolved half moon. Getting an AT band stretch in the left side. You can do it. Other side. And exhale, hand comes down. Gonna bring both feet together. And now you're gonna hate me because inhale, arms come up, hips come down, chair pose. Exhale, hands to heart center. We're gonna look towards the left and twist towards the left. Making sure that your knees are in one line. And then untwist. And coming up into Tadasana, mountain pose. Ah, amazing. And inhale, circle sweep the arms up. And exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, circle sweep the arms back up. And reverse swan dive all the way back down onto the mat. And then from here, we're just going to bring the buttocks onto the mat. Lengthening those legs. We're going to come to our yin part of the practice. So we're going to work with the blocks. So maybe you do need blocks. Marinate. Yeah, I can get you. Might be better. More comfortable. All right. Oh, you have blocks too. Awesome. You're all so prepared. I'm amazed. All right. And then from here, you can either bring one block in the middle and between your legs, or have them to your sides, as we're going to come into our caterpillar or just forward fold. In yin, it's called caterpillar. So you can reach for your toes, or you can just relax forward, or have the forehead on a block, or put two blocks on top of each other and put then the forehead on top of a block. So there are different options. Just make it work for you. Whatever feels best to you. So you want to round that spine and really just let gravity do the work. So just folding over and not really engaging any muscles, but really just relax. You should feel a really nice stretch in your lower back and also in your hamstrings. We're going to stay here for at least a minute. So breathe deeply, hold that pose, and just try to let go. Kind of surrendering onto that bolster, onto that block. Maybe sinking a little bit deeper wherever you are, checking if your body created some space for you. Maybe you can go a little bit lower. And slowly coming out of this pose, bringing your head back up. From here, we're transitioning into a supported bridge pose. So you're going to bend the knees, bring in the heels closer to the glutes. Going to take one block, and it has three different heights. So choose your height, and we're going to place the block under the fused vertebra. So you can either choose the highest or the middle or the lowest point, wherever you feel comfortable. So it will lengthen your spine, pulling that vertebra apart, stretching those discs, and also stretching your hip flexors. You can just relax your arms, palms facing up. And just try to let go here. Releasing onto that block. Trying to let go of any tension that you're feeling. Then here you have different options as well. So you can either stay here, which feels great, or if you want to, you can slowly extend one leg and then maybe the other and see how that feels to you. It's a very intense stretch in the hip flexors. So check if you want to add that. And you inhale and push your belly out. You'll get a good stretch for your abs as well and your obliques. And you can slowly bring your feet closer if they aren't already. I'm going to press the hips up towards the ceiling to get the block out of there. Putting the block on the side. And then from here, we're going to come into our little shoulder stretch. So you can either grab a strap. So what we're going to do is to do little cow face arms. So one arm is up, maybe the right arm. And then we're going to try to touch, the fingers touch in the middle of our back. Yeah, between our shoulder blades. And then, so that's what we want to do. And we actually want to do that on the floor in our supine butterfly pose. So just letting the knees fall open, getting a stretch in the inner thighs, stretching the lower back as well. Yeah, and then trying those, that those fingers touch in between your shoulder blades, and you should feel a really deep stretch in both shoulders. So let's just try and breathe into it. Try to let go. Try to not hold too deep of a tension. Listening to your breath. And slowly, we want to come out of this pose. I'm going to take it to the other side to create a balance. So bring in the left arm up this time. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So I know it's a little bit awkward to get out of it and to get into the pose, but just kind of try and see how you get there. Maybe lay down first, arranging those arms, and then working on the supine butterfly pose. And just breathe and try to relax and enjoying the stretch in your shoulders. It's also very good for the wrists, especially the wrist that you're laying on. Good for arthritis. Beautiful. And let's have the knees come together first and slowly release the arms without hurting yourself. Gonna come up back into a seated position from here. We're gonna bring the legs wide. So we can make a decision if you want to sit like this or like that. And we're gonna take one block. Legs are wide. And then we're gonna bring the fingers and release them behind the head. Yeah. And then again, just make sure that you know that the block has 3 different heights. And then from here, we're gonna bring the right elbow towards the right block that is right next to you. To feel a nice and deep stretch in your left side body and your left shoulder. And you can just check and see what kind of height is the best for you. Yeah, and then make sure that your chest is nice and open. Feeling that nice stretch in your left side body. Holding it for a couple of breaths here. So make them count. And let's slowly come back to the middle. I'm gonna take it on the other side. And bring the left elbow to the left block or onto the floor on the left side. Whatever works best for you, just make sure that your chest is nice and open, that you get a good stretch in your right side body, and that your right shoulder is nice and open, that you reach back with that elbow. You should feel a greater stretch when you inhale. You can do it. And slowly coming back up, releasing those hands, those arms. Gonna come to a wide-legged forward fold. So same thing as before. You can grab the blocks and kind of bring your forehead onto it. Wherever you're you can either grab both blocks and build a little tower and sink forward. To the variation that works for you. So just again, you can round the spine, fold over. You should feel a good stretch, but it shouldn't hurt. And you want to sit there. You want to sit in that stretch for at least the next minute. Tuning inward with your breath, with yourself, and just relaxing. Letting gravity do the work for you. And then from here, we're gonna come out of this pose slowly, putting the block on the side. I'm gonna bring the feet mat width distance apart, bending the knees. We're gonna let the knees fall together. And then just come back into our constructive rest pose. You can either have palms facing up towards the ceiling, or you could have the right hand on top of your belly. Just laying here for a couple of breaths in that constructive rest pose. So not engaging any muscles, making sure that your forehead is released of any tension, that you don't hold on to any tension in your jaw. Checking in with your body parts. And then from here, we're gonna roll over onto our favorite side into a fetal position. Taking at least 3 deep breaths here. And then pressing ourselves slowly back up into a seated position of choice. So it could be the cross-legged seat, easy pose, or if you want to do a half lotus, you can do a half lotus or a full lotus. Okay. Like entry, yeah, awesome. And then so sit up tall. And then from here, inhale, circle, sweep the arms up. And exhale, hands to heart center. And then another deep inhale through the nose. And exhale for namaste.